Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we are looking at massive Winter Storm Landon that is now starting to impact portions of the Midwest and is starting to develop more in the South. Right now, we are looking at the current radar across the United States. We have Winter Storm Landon going on right now. We have a lot of rain over here in the Ohio Valley, as well as reaching into more of Alabama, Mississippi. As you head more north, you can see over here, St. Louis is seeing definitely snow, but they did see a little bit of ice earlier this morning. We have a lot of ice in this Mount Vernon area, Farmington, Missouri as well, and this is also going to be reaching into Indianapolis shortly, and they may even see freezing rain right now due to this just being right on the edge of this diving cold front that's entering the area here. As you can see, we're seeing a lot of snowfall over here in Fort Wayne, Kalamazoo, Indiana. Illinois is also seeing that snowfall as well. Urbana, Springfield is seeing that snowfall. Jerseyville, and all these areas are seeing a lot of snowfall throughout last night and into today. And this is going to continue throughout today as we see this other system developing. These are two systems that are really developing here, and this is what's going to bring so much snowfall to this area, since it's going to just keep feeding snowfall to the central United States and the Midwest. That's why you're going to see so much snowfall in these areas, and you're seeing a lot of ice in Texas right now. Dallas is seeing rainfall, but Stanford areas, Wichita Falls, seeing a lot of ice there, and maybe some snow showers over there mainly going on right now in Oklahoma and Texas. Kansas is definitely seeing some widespread light snowfall going on right now. Here's the National Weather Service watch, warning, and advisory display. In these pink colors, these hotter pink colors, those are winter storm warnings, and this is reaching over 1,000 miles from all the way from New Mexico all the way to Vermont. Winter storm warnings are going to be in effect through this weekend. For especially the northeast types of areas, those are going to be through this weekend. As you can see, we also have in those kind of deep purples down here, or actually kind of reddish purples kind of colors, you are seeing ice storm warnings. These freezing rain over here in this area is going to see pretty bad accumulations, upwards of half an inch, maybe even 1 inch in some spots. So that's why they did issue the ice storm warning. It's going to be a pretty significant ice storm where you could be out of power for days or even a couple of weeks. It's going to be pretty bad down there, especially if you do see upwards of 1 inch of ice. In those purplish colors and these kind of purplish colors, that's where you're also seeing winter weather advisories. That's where you're also going to see some type of snowfall, some type of snow accumulation is going to be in those types of areas as well. And then you do see winter storm watches in effect in those kind of bluish colors up here in the northeast. We do have some flood watches in effect in these greens. They're going to see so much rainfall, we could see some localized flood threats. So in the south, we could also see some type of threat, some type of weather event. So definitely some flood watches are in effect for portions of Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And Kentucky is seeing snowfall. They're going to see ice. They're going to see flooding. It's going to be quite crazy over there. Especially in this type of area, we're going to see ice, you're going to see snowfall, pretty much a mix of everything, because it's just going to be pretty insane in those types of areas. Now, we're mainly going to look at the short-range models today, since this is literally happening either today or tomorrow. So let's go ahead and let's go to reflexivity with precipitation type. As you saw on the current radar, we have a bunch of snowfall going on in the Midwest. As we head throughout today, we see that snowfall, this is about right now, actually. We see definitely a break for snowfall in Missouri and Illinois, Indiana as well. But then this other system forms throughout today. This is going to be around 3 p.m. That snowfall is really starting to impact Oklahoma and Texas, and that ice is starting to impact portions of Dallas, where Dallas could see easily half an inch of ice. So Dallas is definitely going to be heavily impacted by these ice accumulations. That snowfall starts to enter once again Missouri and Illinois the overnight hours of tonight into Thursday. This is going to be Thursday at 6 a.m. So you're once again seeing some of that snowfall. This looks to be heading a little bit slightly more south. So areas like central Illinois, central Missouri is not going to see much additional snowfall, but you still see a little bit of snowfall since it'll still be going over you with a huge swath of snowfall. That by that time, around 8 a.m. or so, that snowfall is definitely starting to impact portions of the Northeast by then as well. So let's go forward here throughout to the morning hours. This is going to be about 11 a.m. or so. And as you can see, that snowfall is still happening in Dallas. And Dallas may see a little bit of dusting, but mainly some of that ice accumulations because it's going to be a little too warm for the snowfall in Dallas. But it definitely will be just slightly cold enough for some ice accumulations. Let's go ahead and move forward here throughout the afternoon hours of Thursday. That snowfall is still going over Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, all of those New England states, mostly the northern portions of the New England states are going to see that snowfall, but not any of the areas that got impacted by that extreme nor'easter is mainly going to see rain, so that's actually gonna mostly help melt that snowfall, especially where you saw like 30 inches of snow. So that'll actually be a win-win situation for that type of area where you got hit by the nor'easter. Let's go ahead and move forward throughout the evening hours now, and that snowfall finally exits Missouri and Illinois, and then that finally exits Indiana by around the overnight hours of Thursday into Friday. And then Ohio looks to be getting a break, and then Ohio looks to be getting away from that snowfall as well. And then we get some pretty heavy snowfall here. This is why we have winter storm warnings and winter storm watches over here in portions of the Northeast, because this winter storm is also going to impact the Northeast a little bit as well, especially ice in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New York. So definitely these areas are going to be mainly seeing those impacts. These models won't change that much because it's so close. This is only about 48 hours out, so these models are not going to change much, but I'll probably have another video out tomorrow morning, or even tonight. I might have a video out tonight discussing another update on this winter storm. We can quickly look at snowfall amounts. It didn't really change much from yesterday, except a slightly shift south. But really, ice accumulations, snow accumulations didn't really change, but we can look at it if you didn't watch the last video. Now, this isn't the latest ACRRR model, so some of the snowfall has already fallen, so just keep that in note, especially in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. Some of the snowfall has actually fallen in those types of areas, but places like Ohio and Michigan, those places haven't really seen much snowfall from this yet. But as you can see, let's start off down here in Texas, where you could see upwards of a foot of snowfall in those pink colors. Those blues more are like 3 or 4 inches of snowfall. And then Oklahoma, pretty much the whole state is going to see up to a foot in those pinks, and maybe even up to maybe 15 inches in those more reddish colors. In Arkansas, this is where you're going to see in the northwest portion up to a foot. But again, more of those blues, 2 to 4 inches of snowfall. Kansas, mostly the southeastern and the southwestern portions are going to see up to a foot, or maybe around 8 to 10 inches. And then again, those blues, 2 to 4. Missouri, going to see mostly a foot of snowfall in those, again, reddish pinks colors. And mostly these edges of 2 to 4 inches are going to be very narrow, so a lot of people won't see. Kansas City may see 2 to 4 inches, so that's a highly populated area. And also, Springfield, Missouri is also going to see up to a foot of snowfall as well. St. Louis coming in hot at 20 inches of snowfall there, as well as you're reaching into more of the Springfield area. That's where we're going to see up to a foot of snowfall. Champaign, Illinois, around a foot of snowfall as well. Indianapolis, that's where you're also going to see a foot of snowfall. And places like Cleveland, Ohio, that's where you're going to see also a foot of snowfall, maybe even upwards of 20 inches of snowfall. But it really depends on kind of those snowfall bands going into the area. Michigan, with Detroit, could see upwards of 8 to 10 inches of snowfall. Again, those blues are very narrow, so they're not going to be entering many areas. But if you are in those blues, just take note that those will be 2 to 4 inches of snowfall. I'm not going to go I'm not going to go over every area where there's a blue, since it's just going to be 2 to 4 inches of snowfall. And plus, it's very narrow, so this could just slightly shift southward, and you could see up to a foot. You could be seeing up to 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, but it just shifts slightly northward, you see none, or it shifts slightly southward and you see like a foot of snowfall. So it's kind of interesting here that these are so narrow. So it just pretty much depends on what the snowstorm wants to do with this. But northwestern Pennsylvania, where you're talking up to 15 inches, New York is going to see upwards of 15 inches as well, and possibly up to around 18 inches in localized spots. Vermont is going to see easily up to 20 inches. New Hampshire up to a foot, and pretty much the whole state of Maine is going to see also an additional 10 inches to a foot of snowfall. Those are your snowfall amounts. We're going to look at those ice impacts to know how much ice accumulation you could expect. Ice accumulations could be devastating, especially over here in Texas, where you could see upwards of a half an inch of freezing rain, which again is pretty devastating here in Texas, where these power lines do not have enough strength. They're not built for ice storms, so they're going to take a lot more time to kind of restore. So you may be out of power for a few days, maybe a couple weeks if you do get highly impacted by the ice. We do have a little break in this ice over here in around southern Arkansas, and also Oklahoma. So if you live in this area, you're not going to see that much ice, but once you start off here in Little Rock, you're starting off with half an inch at least, and possibly 3/4 of an inch of ice. And then this whole swath is pretty much upwards of around 3/4 to an inch of ice. And then Ohio, upwards of an inch of ice at least, and possibly even an inch and a half of ice, which is a very catastrophic ice. That is very dangerous ice, and it's going to be causing a lot of power outages for probably weeks, because it's going to take so long to restore, and it's going to cause so much damage to those exposed power lines and stuff like that. And then again, Pennsylvania, near State College, that's where you could also see upwards of an inch of ice, and even Philadelphia. And over here, New York City is dodging a huge bullet with this ice, with just north of New York City an inch of ice. So if this goes a little bit more south, New York City could see devastating ice there. Just keep that a note there, and make sure you stay aware that this ice could definitely go slightly more south and hit portions of New York City, where that could bring some very devastating impacts. And again, over here in Massachusetts, upwards of an inch of ice. More of those pinker areas, that's where you're going to see less devastating impacts. It's going to just a slight impact to your normal daily life. You'll get back to normal in 1 to 2 days or so. But you're still going to see around 1/10 of an inch of ice, maybe 1/4 of an inch. So that'll definitely leave some very slick roads. But if you do have some salt trucks, some plows in these areas, you definitely will get back to normal in around 2 to 3 days or so. So definitely keep that in mind. Those pink areas are not going to be as devastating, but you just go a little bit more north or south, and you get catastrophic ice. So definitely stay prepared. Get prepared now, because you still have around 24 hours until this impact. So definitely get prepared now if you do live in these areas. Subscribe to the channel for a video tonight for the latest update on this winter storm, for the latest radar and stuff like that. I will give you the latest track if the models do change, and all the good stuff. So definitely stay tuned for possibly a video tonight, and also share this with any friends or family that may live in these impact areas. This is definitely going to be a devastating winter storm and ice storm and stuff like that. So share this with any friends or family that you think may need to get prepared for this. But as always, stay safe.